Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Purpose Driven Champs. I'm your host, William Grayson, with my sidekick partner in crime, William D. Harris. And today we got our special guest host today, Clarence Armstrong. How you doing, Clarence?
I'm good in yourself, Will. How you doing, man?
Fine, fine, fine. So, Clarence, can you tell our listeners about yourself a little
Uh,
bit?
sure thing. Clarence Armstrong, born and raised in Twin Oaks, Pennsylvania. Um, Longtime basketball player, referee, coach. I played at Chichester High School. Went on to play 4 years at Drexel University. Um, Decided to coach AAU basketball for 3 or 4 years before becoming a referee, and been officiating for over 20 years now, and 16 at the Division I level. Um, I'm the father of two amazing young men. One, Trey Armstrong, who's on his first year of med school, and my buddy Chase, who is a junior in high school, who is a up and coming football player. I'm the oldest of three children. Blessed to still have my two wonderful parents alive who are major basketball fans. Um, I'm just a blessed individual. I went to college for IT. I still do that as a IT consultant. Uh,
Okay.
but basketball and now officiating is my passion and my livelihood.
All right. So, the first question I got to you is what drove you to become a top basketball official after your career as a player?
You know what? That's a great question. It's a very interesting question that I get quite often. So, first and foremost, when I was a player, um, I was never too fond or too nice to officials. Um, I often had a lot to say. Um, I often got a lot of technical fouls. My parents and my family are extremely critical of officials and have been. Um, and so, after doing a little bit of coaching, a friend of mine who's a fraternity brother, I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, asked me to officiate in a men's league that he had started.
Uh-huh.
So this was the SEPTA Men's League. So I volunteered to help him out. Didn't go very well because a lot of these guys in that league would complain about fouls, and at that time I could still play. So I'd gotten into a lot of arguments and fights with guys and told them, "Hey, man, you can't even play." You don't know why you're talking to me. So that didn't go well. And then I had a longtime official who officiated in the Big East got word that I was doing it. Got me started with the middle school stuff, which turned into the high school stuff. And after doing the high school basketball, I started to really enjoy doing it. And for me, basketball has been so good to me, got me a free education, has taken me a lot of places in my life. So um, I said, why not? Give it a chance. I'm still involved in the game as an official. So people find it pretty funny, pretty ironic that I'm now an official who used to be a pain in the butt to a whole lot of officials. But I enjoy it. I went from high school to Division III to Division II to now Division I. And I absolutely love what I do. Yeah.
So, you see yourself in the near future going pro?
You know what? Not at this point. I'm a little too old to do that. If I had to do all over again, I may have pursued that avenue. Going college basketball versus the pro is just a different pathway you have to take. Um, you know, um, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I enjoy what I do. College is probably where I'll be, hopefully, prayerfully, for the next 10 more years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will?
See, you like family. You always gonna be my nephew. I, you won me over 20 championships. I watched you grow up. I watched you develop over 1,600 points in high school. Your school record is still alive 35 years later.
And it ain't
Watch
going
you play it.
nowhere.
Watch you play at Drexel. Wasn't happy with the situation, but you did a great job adjusting. Your parents is like definitely family. I know your brothers, your sons. But for me, tell us a little bit about how basketball has really impacted your life.
So as a youngster, I was introduced to basketball at a very young age. I had a Nerf basketball court at the house. I had several courts that were on the back of the door. So I was dribbling the basketball probably out of the womb, honestly. I got started in the Chester Biddy League at the age of 7. They had different divisions. I actually skipped my age bracket at 7, and I went directly and played with the 10 to 12-year-olds at the age of 7. So I was very small, but I could handle the ball. I could shoot it. And so I've had a ton of great coaches, a lot of teammates, a lot of guys that I bump into now that from the Chester Biddy League that I see in and around town that remember me when I was a youngster playing, that were probably 4 or 5 years older than me. So basketball has taken me a long way. So during my days at Chester Biddy, we got to travel to Puerto Rico. I've been to Wichita. I've been to Gary, Indiana. I've been all over the place. And I've always had the support of my family. My mother and father would pack us all in the car and we would go. I had 2 younger brothers who had to sacrifice a lot of time to spend with me on the road with traveling with basketball. And just, for me, I tell people all the time, that round ball has blessed me tremendously. Like, I've gotten everything that I can imagine out of a round basketball. I was able to get a free education at Drexel, which I don't take lightly. And so, I've been extremely blessed for playing basketball.
Hey, Clarence, when you look at being one of the greatest guards ever come out of Delaware County, graduating in 88, going to Drexel, having to wait your turn basically for 2 years, what was that transition like for you at Drexel?
That was probably the first time in my life that I wasn't the focal point of my team, or at least one of the focal points of my team. I decided on Drexel because it was 35 minutes from the house, great education. When I went on my recruiting visit, Mike Anderson was the guard there at Drexel who got to do exactly all the things that I got to do at Chichester. He handled the ball. He shot it when he wanted to shoot it. They ran a lot of offense through Mike. And so, me deciding on Drexel was a lot for that reason. I thought that, I would get the opportunity to go right in and start, have the ball in my hands and make a major impact. Unfortunately, it didn't work that way. So my first 2 years, I actually was a reserve player, came off the bench. And back in those days, with transferring and the rules and all of that was much more difficult. You would have to sit out a year, do all of that. So my freshman year was a tad bit frustrating. But, I have wonderful, great parents and praying parents who had to also remind me that I was there to get an education as well. So, it was the first time in my career that I wasn't a starter. And so it was a major transition, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of negative nights and evenings. And, one of the things that I learned from that is just to persevere. So every day in practice, my goal was to whoop the starters. I took great pride in beating the starters every single day, every day. Like we gonna whoop y'all every day. And we talked about it every day that we was whooping them every day. So I had to just make it to a point where the coach had to give me an opportunity at some point. So it was definitely a challenge, but I if I had to do all over it again, or if it was today's age, 100% I would have transferred. Would have been gone.
You would have hit that portal.
And I hit the portal right away. Because for me, I needed to put the ball in my hands and I needed to shoot it. And
right.
so when I had to do all those other things, coach said to me early on in practice, he says, I didn't realize how quick you were. And, we're going to make you a defensive stopper. Well, the only person I ever played defense for was William Harris, and that's because he demanded we play defense. Other than that, I'd rather outscore you than try to play defense.
All right. What are your thoughts on the evolution of the game in terms of pace and style, and how has it affected officiating?
It's interesting. So the kids are bigger, they're stronger,
Yeah.
they're more athletic. Where I challenge a lot of today's players is just understanding the game. I think that the fundamentals of the game have gone a little bit awry. Kids don't have the same fundamentals, and they also don't have the same just understanding of the game. Everybody can run and dunk, jump, all of those things. Obviously, everybody's more athletic than before, but where I struggle with some of the day's game is just the understanding of the game. As far as officiating is concerned, we've had some mandates. They want us to take out physical play. So where back in my day, a 5'10" guard went down the lane, you got hit. You got hit and you got hit on purpose to prevent you from coming down there. Well, today's game, you get hit, it's a flagrant foul. So I had to make an adjustment as an official when we went to the monitor. People would say, "Oh, that's a flagrant." I'll be like, "That's just a foul to me. I mean, that's nothing." But in today's game, if you do get hit hard, it's a flagrant foul. And I mean, I just had to make that adjustment as an official to adjudicate it as such.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Game's definitely changed, though. It's more free flowing, less physical, more athletic, and I think the art of shooting the basketball has diminished, in my opinion.
That's facts. Will?
Yeah.
Yo, see, you ref in like 4 or 5 conferences, man. Every time I look around, you're in a different part of the country. I know you done loaded up on freaking flyer miles. But let me ask you this. Out of all the teams that you've officiated, what team is the best team you like to officiate out of all the teams you officiate?
Well, you know what? I really don't have a particular team per se that I like to officiate. There's obviously some venues out there that are always great places to work. Obviously, in the ACC, if you go to Duke or Carolina, those two venues are great. Um, there's places like Creighton that has 20,000 people every night. Syracuse will have 20,000 every night. So, for me, and I've always been this way, as you know, the bigger the spotlight, the bigger I enjoy it. But every night I go out, my job is to perform to the best of my ability. I give the kids my best effort every single night, no matter where I am. And that's just what I do. Before a game starts, I pray, Lord, please just let me go out, do a good job, and let the best team win without me ever affecting the outcome of the game. And that's my job, and that's what I do every night, no matter where I go.
That's good.
As far as I know today.
Did we lose him?
I guess we
Coaches,
lose them.
I know
There you
today
go.
coaches are part of the game.
Yes.
Talk to me about your dialogue with coaches.
Well, it's interesting. It's definitely evolved. First of all, being an ex-player, obviously I wasn't always. I mean, I always gave my coach, no matter who they were, the respect that they deserved. Obviously, like I mentioned, my first 2 years at Drexel, I was unhappy with my playing time, but I never disrespected my coach. Now that I'm on the other side and I remember as a player how I used to be, I think my approach to the game is a little different than some. So, number one, I always give every coach mutual respect, and I just ask for mutual respect. I know that they are coaching a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, and they're fighting for their livelihood. And so, what I tell them is, I am also fighting for my livelihood for my 18 to 22-year-olds that I have that live in my household that I have to provide for. So I go out every night and I, make sure I give mutual respect. So look for mutual respect from a coach. They are a big part of the game. They are. They are. If you have too many instances with a coach, there's a possibility you won't go back. So I don't say a whole lot when I'm officiating to coaches. And I feel like, my style of officiating has worked well for me. When it comes to the players, I actually absolutely try to communicate 100% with all the players while they're out there, especially the ones that we all deem as maybe the problem childs. So
Yeah.
if you take a Draymond Green, someone who's always going to challenge officials, whatever the case may be, I try to make someone like him my guy. Hey man, tonight you got a problem, you come talk to me, and we'll take it out because I used to be that guy. So that's why, the guys that are, whatever you want to call them, the challenging players out on the court, I try to make them my guys so that because I knew I used to be the same person when I played. Just playing with passion, playing with, you just got to control your emotions. And that's what I tell them. Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing, but just control your emotions.
Yeah.
They talk to me, Mr. Ref, he found me. Hey, man, I got it. Like, come on, you just play. You play, let me do my job, and we'll work it out tonight. And it's been successful for me, very successful.
Speaking on traveling, what Will mentioned earlier, how do you maintain a work life balance with travel demands being in Division One basketball?
Oh,
Oh, look at your eyes rolling. Look at your
extremely hard, man, extremely hard. So we get our schedules. And so for me personally, or for most of us, we take the first flight out. So 6 a.m.s, you'll catch me in airports. 5:30, 6 a.m., 4 a.m. wake-up calls, off to the airport. You want to catch the first thing smoking because you got to get to the town where you are. So I would normally arrive in the town 9, 10 a.m. When I was doing my IT job, I would log right into work and start working from 9 to 12, maybe take a nap, get something to eat, and then log back in until 5. Then most games are at 7 o'clock. We have to be at the gym an hour and a half before, so 5:30 is usually the time. 7 p.m. game goes to 9, dinner, and then in the bed by 11, 12, and then up 4 a.m. and off to the next place.
gotcha.
So, there's some weeks I'm gone 5, 6 days a week. So, like I mentioned, I still have a junior in high school at home with his mom. So, I try to make sure I communicate with him. A lot of text messages, um, calls at night to make sure everything is going on. I speak to my parents every single day.
Yeah.
I have to send them a text message, let them know where I'm at for the week. So it's difficult. It's definitely difficult. I'm actually off today and need to pay some bills. I had to do a Zoom call this morning. I also assigned some basketball in high school, so I had to do a Zoom call. And now I need to sit here and book about 6 or 7 more flights for February. So it's hectic. It's hectic.
God. Oh,
Yeah, it's very hectic. Yeah. So all the glamour you see for 2 hours, that's the easy part.
yeah. We
Yeah.
don't see that part.
Yeah, the game is the easy part. Everything else is the crazy part. So I this year unfortunately had the first time that I've ever missed a game. I had a flight to North Carolina get canceled, and so I missed the game, and it was just a bad day that day.
Will?
See, you got some special parents, man. Real special. Your mom, I always call her my sister. She always will be. father, my brother-in-law, how much have they really impacted your life? See,
Great question, man. You trying to make me cry, huh? So anyway, um, yeah. So my parents are my world, man. They have always been. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm the oldest of three. So when I started playing at 7, my mom wasn't really into basketball at the time. Unfortunately, she was getting left home a lot by herself, and so she finally caught on to the game. And yeah, my parents are my world. So um, they have sacrificed for me and my two brothers more than anybody can imagine. Um, and I'm always appreciative and grateful for what they've done for the three of us. And yeah, it's my mom and dad are everything, man. As you well know, not only do they support me and my brothers and the grandkids now, but they've touched other people's lives. You know, my mom has oftentimes had young ladies that, you know, have gravitated to her. And then obviously my dad is just, you know, they're just well known. So we call my mom Miss Community because she's always out doing something, blessing somebody in some kind of way. And we call my dad the mayor because he just, you know, everybody knows Mr. Brock. So yeah, my parents are great, man. I love them to death.
Um, here's a good one for you. Out of all the games you have officiated, which game has really stand out? Like, dang, I'm glad I officiated this game.
Now, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. So I'm trying to think. Maybe it's been about 4 or 5 years now. So I was at the ACC tournament, um, and this is the year that Zion was still at Duke.
Okay.
So we get to the ACC tournament. So in the playoffs, you officiate a game, and then that night we all get in a big meeting room, and the boss tells you who's moving on and who's going home. So up to that year, I had always gone to the quarterfinals, and then I've moved, and then I went on somewhere else. So we get to the end of the quarterfinals. We go in this room, and there's two semifinals games the next day, and then a few guys are going on to the Atlantic 10 to officiate in that league. So he gives off the names for the Atlantic 10. He doesn't mention my name. Then he talks about the first game. I think it was Virginia and maybe Florida State, and he doesn't say my name. And so now the only game left is Duke versus Carolina, and I've not had this game ever in the regular season. So initially, I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, I guess I'm gonna be an alternate for
Yeah.
the playoffs. So he says Duke, Carolina, Jamie Lucky, Roger Ayers, Clarence Armstrong. Whoa. I was like, oh, hold on. Did he just give me Duke, Carolina in the playoffs? I've never had this game in the regular season. So sure enough, he had the confidence in me. I got to do the Duke Carolina game when Zion had his last game. So that year, Zion, I think, played the first game, and I want to say Carolina won. He missed whatever game. He played one game, and then the other one he was hurt. So this was the first game he was coming back.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be a phenomenal game, probably best game I've ever had to officiate in my career. And did a good job that night, and it was a great game. Duke ended up winning, I think, maybe by 2 or 3 points. So, yeah, that's an easy answer for me. Yeah.
Well,
see, what's it like refereeing the college athletes versus the high school athletes?
Just the whole maturity of things. As you see in high school, you got kids that are great players, just like I was, and now you move on to college. They're bigger, they're stronger. They've gone through some training, they've gone through a little bit of better coaching. So you just see kids that were good in high school. Some of them evolve and come even better in college. Some of them, because of a situation, may go backwards. So there's definitely, from at least the level that I officiate, a difference for a lot of kids when they go from high school to college. So, one of the things I have a nephew that's a ninth grader. And I always tell my brother, like, he's got to continue to get stronger, because as you get out, you're now playing against men. You start to play against men at 18,
True.
22, and they're a little more physical than you are, and it makes a difference in your game. I also tell him all the time to work on his shooting. Just shoot, 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 shoot. Again, a lot of our kids can go run and jump and dunk it, but a lot of them can't shoot the basketball consistently at a high level. And so that's the one thing I encourage all kids: just shoot the ball. Learn how to shoot the ball. If you know how to shoot the ball, you can go a long way. Because when you get to college, you can go in and run in and dunk the ball. There's people that step in and take a charge. Or there's a 7-footer that's going to block your stuff up in the stands. It's something that you're not used to. So if you learn how to shoot, you'll be all right. So I tell kids, not just the three-pointer. You got to be able to shoot the 15-footer, the pull-up, the one off the glass, which nobody ever does. But you got to be able to shoot the basketball.
Growing up, see, you being a basketball gym rat, who was your idol and who was your favorite basketball player of all time?
Well, when I was a youngster, it was Dr. J. So anybody, if you ever seen a picture of me from the age of 7 to about 12, that was probably the biggest thing on me was my afro. I was a tiny little dude, but I had a big old afro. So as I got older, Maurice Cheeks was my guy. Just constant, able to just get it done. So I wore number 10 in high school. Unfortunately, I was retired at Drexel, so I couldn't wear number 10 at Drexel. But I would say Dr. J and Maurice Cheeks were probably my two guys.
So for the up and coming official, from like you started from the bottom up, what advice would you give them? This is my last question for you.
Okay. So, first of all, there's, like I was mentioning, I assigned some high school basketball here in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And the reason I took that on is because there's been such a shortage
of
officials. There's a shortage of officials, and it's for several reasons. I think mainly because as spectators now and parents of athletes and stuff, it's gotten a little crazy. It's gotten a little dangerous. AAU has made basketball just
a different monster. It's a different
monster. It so is. And so a lot of people are shying away from becoming an official. So I always tell my story about how much I didn't like officials. Never seen an official that I ever wanted to, break bread with or have dinner with. But now I am a Division I official. And so what I tell people is basketball is never going to go away. So because basketball is never going to go away, I will always have a job because there's going to be games. And if there's going to be games, you need officials. So I'm trying to encourage more ex-athletes and more young men and women to just try it. I started, like I said, with the little kids to the high school. The stuff that I assign pays like $80 a game. So if you take and you do 3 games a week and you times that times a month, that's not bad little change to put in your pocket. Now Division I basketball, the paychecks are much, much larger. I mean, I have a lot of people that this is all they do. This is all they need to do because they make such a great living off of 4 months of basketball. 4 months.
Right.
4 months. So some of us make what we make in 4 months, people don't make in 2 years. So
wow, hold up. That's a lot.
Yeah. So, what I tell people is, you don't necessarily have to go to my level. but the opportunities are there. Like I said, because basketball is not going away. And so you need to have officials. And so, you train, you get better at making the calls, and then you just get better at dealing with people, because really that's all it is. It's just you have to keep your composure and you just have to deal with people. So if you're a people person, this is a great profession for you. Great profession. Other than that, I have to stay in shape. I'm no spring chicken, but I have to stay in shape. And if I was not doing this, I don't know where I might be a 300 pounder right now. But the fact that I have to stay in shape helps me live longer. Hopefully, I'm blessed to live longer because I have to eat healthy and run and do all these things. But it's a great, great livelihood. It used to be an avocation. You can be a full-time job now.
Oh, okay.
So if there's anybody that's interested, I'm always welcome to speak to anyone regarding officiating. And again, I'm just right at this point advocating for more people to just try it, and especially ex-athletes, because I moved up the ranks faster because I was a player. So I tell people, if you've played this game, you have a feel for it. So when you go out and officiate it, I take everything that I did while I was a player, I take it into officiating, and it's helped me be successful.
All right. Will?
See, for the first time last year, you got 2 NCAA games. Then you was an alternate at another one. So right now you're moving up the ranks when it comes to the big dance, because there's nothing like that atmosphere at the big dance. And I wish you well as you continue your journey, man. And it's all about getting better. You're on TV a lot, national TV, all over the place. You come a long way from that little left-handed kid out of Twin Oaks. You got a lot to be grateful for. And I know for you, one of the toughest times, even for me, is when your mom got sick. It was kind of tough. How did you handle that? Because I know it's rough. It was rough.
Yeah, you know what? You know what though, Will? You know what people I tell people all the time. The best thing is though, my mom has such a positive spirit all
Mm,
the time.
yes.
And so as as her son and one of her support people, like, you can't help but just take that positivity and just continue with it, because that's how she is every single day. Days that she's tired, days that she's hurting, days that she might be miserable, you still can get a positive note out of my mom. And so I've learned that from her, that my mom and dad had me at a very young age. So we all grew up together, and my mom and I, that's my ace. So she calls me on the days she needs a little positivity put in her, and she's put so much in me. So that's just such a blessing. See, I tell people all the time, I think my mom sits on the right hand side of God, but she's a blessed lady, and she continues throughout even her struggle days to just remain positive. So that she preaches to you all the time. It. So
Yes, she does.
yes, yeah. So before we end though, too, man, I need to thank you, William, for the impact that you had in my life. You came into my life, at a young age, and you taught me some basketball skills, and you challenged me, and you took me to a lot of different places, gave me a lot of different opportunities. And I owe all my toughness, the toughness that I have in me, I got that from you, bro. And so I appreciate all the things you've done for me. When I got to the high school ranks, you was coaching the men, and the guys that were older than me, and I got to play with those guys, Snap and Pop and all those guys. And so those guys really took me to another level. When I got to college, I was prepared and ready. And I owe all that to you, my friend. Downtown Express, before there was true AAU basketball, there was Downtown Express. And Yeah, well, so I had to, when we would have games, man, we would be beating people so bad because we pressed. And I would have to tell Coach Harris, I'd be like, man, take the press off. We killing these. So we would be beating the team by 25, 30 points. Let them score 10 points on us and cut it to 15 or 18. We go right back to we just shoot the brakes off of people. And so, man, I just really wanted to say here in public and on this podcast, brother, I really love you. I support you. There's nothing you can do that I won't, back you, because you've been so good to me and my family, man. And so, really appreciate you, man. I love you, my man.
Love you too. Love you too, see?
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Purpose Driven Champs. Myself, Will, and Mr. Clarence. Clarence, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate this.
Oh, it was my pleasure, man. My pleasure. Anytime. So let me know if you need me again. I love to talk hoops.
All right, so we'll probably bring you back on.
Yeah.
All right, so
all right. You guys be blessed today.
you too. Bye-bye.
Take care.